These notes here are going to be F sharp and then D sharp. These are called parallel sixth, by the way. They're a way of writing a harmony that's consonant and moves smoothly. Now we're going to move down a whole step in music, 2 frets on the guitar. That's E to C sharp. So, and then we wind up back here. See, so we're like, just like Sam and Dave, Soul Man, right? But now we're bending. So here's our dry note. Now we're going to bend to it. So we're bending a G natural up to G sharp and a D natural up to D sharp. Like I said, you know, I can't say this enough. It's all about whatever the skinniest string on your guitar that you're bending, you put your energy into that, and the other ones kind of automatically follow. But if you don't concentrate on that skinniest string, you wind up without, it goes out of tune somehow. And I don't know why, but I always found like you just get that first note and the other ones come right in. Like that. I'm really only thinking about the first note. The other note just kind of falls into tune. See that? Another thing that will help, having the action cranked up high on your guitar. I use kind of high action. I use heavy strings just because I like to feel that string under my finger a lot. I like to really know it's there, and I like the way that it resists. It gives me a truer note. But I'm not going to tell you what kind of guitar to play or what kind of strings to use or how to use your action. But if you have the strings a little higher on the treble side, it is easier for you to get your finger under the string to push up on it. Now, I remember that Johnny Winter said that years ago, that he liked the action a little high. And looking up to him as much as I did as a guitar player, I copied him and raised the bridge up on my guitar. So right now, a lot of that been, you know, once if you get into playing blues, you know, all those turnarounds, those turnbacks that blues guys like to do. But now you can bend it. It has a little more of that. Now I'm not bending. I'm just doing vibrato on that. But now to continue. Now I'm bending D natural up to D sharp. At the same time, I'm bending A sharp up to B. Some of you might know A sharp is B flat. That guy's a little sneaky. He goes by 2 names. But once we bend him up to B, we know who he is. Like that. See? So now it's relatable to this. Here's my dry notes. It's relatable to like I was talking before about body English, like using your stomach, your ribs, or leaning back. Another thing I tend to do is I find that if my hands are kind of coming around in a circular motion, for some reason it's easier than if I just push the string straight up. If I come around like, I really couldn't tell you why, but for me that works. You might want to try it yourself. See, you see what I'm doing there? For some reason that circular thing helps. I don't know why. Maybe because a circle, you're not stop and go. You're just going around. So, but you might want to try. See these little, when you're bending, almost come around and then circle into it. seems to give a little extra power. Like I said, as you know, when I'm standing up, I'll push my stomach into the guitar. You know, as we get older, we got more and more of a stomach to push into the guitar, and sitting down, I use my ribs. You know, so there you go with that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit, and I'm going to combine these things that I just showed you, okay? And I'm going to be like, pardon me. When you bend strings a lot, they start going out of tune. Same thing, but I went up to B. That's them kind of combined, you know, and I'm going to move on to some more licks, okay? And we're going further and further. Now we're up to this position now, as if you took your D chord, but we're playing in the. Okay, so in this position we did this and this, right? And then I figured this one out recently. See how this is like this is a D chord, you know, we use this chord a lot. I'm just moving it up the neck. But now, this is a little trickier. I'm doing a pivot finger, then a bend and a hammer on at the same time. What a pivot finger is I'm here. Now as I hammer on, my pinky, see, it's the relative of this. It's the same kind of harmony. But now, my pinky, as my pinky goes down, my second finger crosses over and pushes up. Here's my first finger. My first finger gets out of the way, and my second finger, you got to pounce on it the way Frida the cat pounces on a bird out in the yard. You got to pounce on this thing. See? You want to try it again? Now, I'm not really, I'm using the pick and two fingers, so I'm playing the notes simultaneously. You know, I'm not going to try to tell you how to pick or what kind of technique to play, you know. Everybody's guitar, everybody has their own method of what feel comfortable to them, but I like to use the pick and the two fingers. I've been doing it since I was about 15, like I said, so that's a long time now. I ain't going to tell you how long, but see that? So it's like you're doing like so. Now, my pinky's coming in, okay? Right? It's not bent, it's just a melody note. This note stays the same. This note doesn't go anywhere. That's called a pedal tone in music theory. Because of the old organ players, when they would just hit one note with their foot on the pedals and then they'd improvise over it. So it's a pedal tone, it doesn't change. And then, see the first finger, it's just more, it's easier for me to do like, that's that one. That's another one more of the country and western tonalities. This is the shape of an E chord here. Okay, and what I've got is E, G sharp, and B. Like I said, it's really good to know the notes on the neck of the guitar. You could probably get one of the charts off the internet and just try to memorize it. It'll really help you when you're trying to learn anything. So that's your basic E triad. Now, this is my next thing. These are double bends, but they're unequal length bends. This is something new. This one is moving the musical distance of a half step. On the guitar, in music, it's called a half step. On the guitar, it's called 1 fret. But if we were dealing with music, it would be called a half step. But we're just guitar players, you know? We're the guys that hang out with drummers. Okay, so we've got this musical distance here of a half step. See that? But this string, melodically, is doing this. If you get it just the right way, it sounds like two singers singing harmony. So now I'm bending, but these are unequal length bends because one has got to go upwards, the melodic distance of a whole step. See that on the guitars? The other one's going. Now the harmony played dry is like that. Now watch, when I bend it, it's like that, okay? Now this takes a little moxie because you got to bend, like I said, one string's going a whole step, the other's going a half step. So watch this. All right, again, use any body English you got to. All right, in this case, I'm kind of picking the guitar up to get more leverage. If you see me put my hand under the bridge like this, I tend to kind of play like that anyway. I kind of rest my hand on the bridge of the instrument, but also I'm kind of doing this so that the guitar is where I want it to be when I come back out of the riff. Other than that, it could be any old place and I might not be able to make the next part of the song. So, you see that? Kind of keeps her on close. I'm kind of pushing her into me so that she stays. Stay with me, baby. Don't leave me. Sometimes it really helps, like, you know, guitar's an instrument that you got to play with your whole body. You're using your whole body when you play the guitar, if you're playing with feeling. The guitar isn't just you play with your fingers. Use everything you got. You got to make that note. The guitar, you got to make that note. So it's critical. So anything that you play sitting down, you should be able to play standing up. You know, other instruments are played either sitting down or standing up. The guitar you could play in any old way, but make sure that anything you play sitting down, you could play standing up, and vice versa, because they're two completely different energy levels of how you use your hands and the rest of your body. Okay, so that's the double unequal bend. Okay, here's another one. It's still out of this E chord. Now we got G sharp and B. Now I'm going to hammer on and bend. I'm going up a half step, and then I'm hammering on a whole step. I'm actually picking all the notes. There's the hammer on, see? Now the hammer on sometimes, when you get up here, it can be a little hard to get it to really take. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm going to get lucky, and I'll kind of feather it a little bit. I call it ghosting. When you kind of hit a ghost note. See, I'm ghosting it. I'm just touching it with that finger. Like here's if I picked it full on, it'd be. But I'm kind of. See that? Watch this. I'm ghosting it. Watch my finger. It's a ghost note. It's just barely there. See that? My finger's kind of coming out. And you use that just to keep that note vibrating. Just kind of feathering it with your finger. You know, which is like why I say, I know I repeat myself a lot, but let me tell you right now that if you want to play the guitar, no matter what, even if you don't want to do this kind of music, whatever kind of music you want to play, the guitar is very repetitious, and music is very repetitious because you've got to do it over and over again every day if you really care about it and want to do it. So when I say things over and over again, I'm just trying to repeat it because practicing and studying music is by nature a very repetitious thing, and I want to just keep saying again, really important, use the pick and two fingers. You have the fingers anyway. So many cats just using only the pick. You know, I use a pick too, and I try to bring these fingers into play as well, you know. Here's that ghosting thing again. Here's what it sounds like. See that? See that? There we go again. So it doesn't die, the note doesn't die out. Okay, now here's some more, okay? This is very useful, you know, like in E, as all guitar players know, we love the key of E. That's all right, the lutenists loved it too. And so did the theorbo players. It's a great one because you got that nice fat low E. And so, you know, you're out there and you're playing someplace that doesn't even have a paved parking lot. You got gravel and mud puddles in the parking lot. Now watch this, okay? These are both going up a half step. And what I'm doing is here's E, right? And here's G sharp. And I'm bending E flat and G natural up to E natural and G sharp. The dry note, here's a Now here's the non-dry way of doing it. Now notice this bend is best with the third and the pinky. The fingers that I'm using for the bends are the ones that I found work. Like you wouldn't think you could bend a string with your pinky like this, but it's actually the best way. It all depends. I work these out just over you know, a long period of time, but it's all a body English because you've got to make that note happen, and depends on where you are, what notes you're going for. You have to use different fingers, you know. So you have to use this pinky in this case, and you're like. Now watch, it doesn't have quite the same tone. You can do it like this, but it doesn't sound right. It sounds better with the pinky. It's got that pointiness to it. Because the pinky's small, so it lets the think that if you press down on it with your pinky's small, and it's letting the string vibrate better. So, like that. Like I said, you know, that's a real low down one. That's for like. Now watch, I bet. Oh, that's a honky tonk right there. I can see the neon sign in the pool table right now. Smell the whiskey fumes. Burp. See that? Now watch, here's what I'm doing. I'm bending up, letting her go. Now remember, when you release a bend, the strings, just ride her down. She'll take you down where you need to go. You don't have to push the string back down when you're letting the bend go. Just ride her down, but don't let up on her. If you let up on her, she'll kick you. You see, you got to be. Then that's just moving down one fret. That's not bent. See, so, but then you get that great old. It's really great when you're going from an E chord to an A chord. Like, I never dreamed that this could be. Well, I pray to God to send her love, etc., right? So you were like, all right, that just says honky tonk, right? All right, now I'm going to combine these things I just showed you, okay? Let's just say we're doing a pattern like that, all right? You're like, so that's how you can do that kind of thing, okay? So now we're going to get into okay, you hear this chord, it's a major ninth chord. Now I did the same thing in the key of B, and just because of the rules of harmony, it's the same three notes, but it's going to have a different name and it does a slightly different job now. All right? And that's going to be your F sharp, your G sharp, and your B. And I'm going to do the same thing. This one's a little tough to pull off. I can't always pull it off myself. See that? If you get it right, it sounds kind of pretty. See, because it's got that. Now watch. That was about the best version of it that I did so far. Okay, now we're going to have this. That's a real classic one. That's a real classic kind of. Now here's what I'm doing, right, is right here we are in our E chord form, okay? And I'm taking G and B flat and moving it up to G sharp and B. And I'm doing it like this. Okay? See that? Here's a close-up. Is that a close-up? Now I'm going to bend it, okay? This is like an E major 6 chord, okay? But now the notes are E, G sharp, and C sharp, okay? Now I'm going to bend E flat up to E, G natural up to G sharp, and I'm playing C sharp dry. I don't bend it. This is where that thing I said about is really about bending the skinniest string. This lick is really tough to pull off and get it to sound right. Because it takes a light touch, believe it or not. You can't clobber the strings. I'm really trying to show you every single fake pedal steel lick I've been able to come up with. Okay, so you see I'm bending E flat to E, G natural to G sharp, and it's all how you lay into that G, because look, this is a dry note, okay? It's all how you lay into that. And for me, I'm using the first finger as a helper. You see that? So I'm what I find too is that for all these bends, you know, different guitars have different curves on the fingerboard. Some guitars have a very flat board, some guitars have a lot of curves. This guitar's got a lot of curves, right? But you have to really follow the shape of the guitar neck. That's very important. Like, if I try to go shove straight across, I'm going to hit a clam note. I guarantee it. So my fingers are actually kind of languid. What they're really doing is they're just naturally going over the curve of this guitar neck. Because this guitar has a curve, the neck has a, the fingerboard is very round when you go from side to side. It's not flat. And different model guitars, some guitars have a flat fingerboard. So you have to adapt to your guitar also. Okay, that's that one, okay? And now we're going to go to the last chapter, okay? Which is symmetric cycles, meaning diminished chords and augmented chords, okay? Now, like I said, this isn't a music theory course, so I'll explain to you a minute what a diminished chord sounds like. If you ever see an old silent movie, when the bad guy ties the girl to the railroad track, it sounds like this. It's that suspense kind of music. Now, the thing about a diminished chord is all the notes are equal distance apart. So since the harmony, the notes are all like, look, 3 frets, no note is any more important musically than any other note, and the entire chord just repeats itself every 3 frets. So, this is a G diminished chord. You don't really need to know what a diminished chord is or why, but the reason why it works is all the notes are the same distance apart, so you can go up 3 frets and the chord just repeats itself all the way up and down the neck. And you've probably heard it, you hear it on Ray Charles, Drowning My Own Tears. He uses it there. That's a good way to get used to it. Or Charlie Brown by the Coasters. Listen to those 2 songs, and you'll hear this chord being used. But it's a nice trick to do here. I'm taking C, and it goes to C sharp. I'm taking E flat, and I go to E. And my dry note here is G, so hear that? Then I go up 3 frets, 3 frets. Let's say we're in the key of E. That's how you use it. You use it when you're going from, like I said, it has that good old Western swing sound. All right, and you could repeat these bends. Okay, now an augmented chord is the same kind of chord as a diminished chord in that it's symmetrical. It's used that way, but it has a little different sound. Okay, let's say we're G, and we've got this G augmented chord. So that's like you hear Chuck Berry, okay? Like baby doll. Right now these augmented chords are very nice because you can run them a whole step. They connect to each other every 2 frets, believe it or not. Now what I'm doing is here, I've got this G chord, right? And I have to do it like this. I'm using backwards fingering. You know in the guitar we always like to go across, but this is illogical because you've got to be like this. So you're doing it like this, right? You're using kind of backwards fingering, and I'm bending D to D sharp, and I'm bending B flat to B. So I hear it, right? Here's a proper augmented chord played dry. sounds kind of spacey, right? It sounds like, you know, people of Earth. People, people, people of Earth. And that's what you use it for. Because what diminished and augmented chords have in common is that when they are their own tonality, and when you are playing, for that moment you're playing them, you're in their world. It's the diminished and augmented chords are their own little parallel world in music. And then when you go through them for that moment, you're in that world where there's everything repeats every 3 frets. They're almost like mirrors. They're very mirror-like sounds. So, and they sound kind of spaced out. That's why I like them. So, watch this. D goes to D sharp, right? Perfect fifth, going to augmented fifth, and a minor third, a B flat, goes to B, and we get B natural. It's a B flat goes to B. So we got this. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a little bit. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit, and I'm going to use the licks that I just showed you, and I'm going to play a little song, and I'm going to improvise around with these licks. Okay, I'm making this up as I go along, but so we're in the key of E, so I'm going to do some of these E licks. Now I'm going to again, same thing, right? A. Now B. Now up here, here was our first lick, right? That I showed you at the beginning of the video. Now here's the second. Now here's the first lick, and I'm playing it. Okay, so we go like this. Same thing again. Now we're going to go back to B. Remember the major 6 chord, the triple bend? Or you can do it like this. And another thing you can do is get your pinky around the volume control on your guitar. Okay, and you do like this. I just want to point out too, I don't use any effects pedals ever. I plug straight into every amp that I use, and I don't use any some of my guitars do have a Bigsby arm on them. My hollow body guitar's got that Bigsby arm on them, but I don't use it to play these licks, and I don't use any kind of palm pedal or B string bender or anything like that. It's not that I'm against them. It's just that I never used them. I just wanted to do it natural fingers. So that was how I looked at it. So. Let me go. Again. Again. Now to B. Diminished chords. back to E major. E major 6. Now B7. That's like one. This is. All right, thank you. Practice a lot, and we'll see you on the next lesson.